Hello and welcome. It's summertime 2024. Just turned summertime, Linda, and I have my summertime shirt on.
Yeah,
And
first day.
we're here to talk about, of course, financial planning and money, and we're going to do a little in-depth analysis, if you would, of our latest newsletter, which we just sent out, spring and summer of 2024.
Hmm.
And the weather has been interesting. We've had a winter that was not quite a winter, and now we're into a summer that's already started much earlier.
Yes, yeah.
But how does that relate to money concerns? Well, yes and no. Uh, Looking at our newsletter and some of the items that we talked about, people are concerned about inflation, probably more than anything else. And they're concerned about the fact that it's difficult to buy a home.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it's a little more difficult to buy groceries than it has been in the past. But the money markets seem to be doing fairly well. How does this correlate somehow?
Well, it's they're not completely connected.
Hmm.
The cost of goods going up and that sort of thing affect people's pocketbook, but it certainly like groceries, we might change some of the groceries we purchase, but we certainly still have to eat. And so firms are still making money. And I mean, one of the best things to do is to be also invested in the companies that are making money so that it helps you buy your groceries.
Now, some of the money matters are dealt with quite extensively by the money experts at Croft Financial Group, and I know Richard Croft is probably one of the best financial commentators in the country. He's been on all the major networks. He's written books and articles, and of course, regular contributions to the articles that we post on our website as well, and are actually sent to people directly. But if you don't get them in the mail, you can check our website, which is simply financialdecisions.ca. And some of the articles and some of the, I guess, to look at the markets, the way they're moving, this is something that you may not follow really on a daily basis, but also on the website, BNN Bloomberg also has a lot of interesting information with respect to money matters, really almost on a daily basis if you're interested. And that's all
Yeah,
available just by going to the website and just clicking on that link.
yeah, absolutely. It's on a daily basis.
But if you're a young person, this is something that, those of us who've been around for years, the idea was that you grew up, you got married, you got a home, you got kids, and so on, right? But now getting that first home seems to be a real problem, but the government wants to help out a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, fortunately, we've seen the first of the interest rates drop in this month, so that's at least a sign that they're going to go in a more pleasant direction if a person is looking at purchasing a home. The government, what they've done so far is allow for a first time home savings account so that if a person wants to save specifically, so if you're a young person and you're thinking about that first home, you can put $8,000, get a tax deduction so that it actually gives you a refund, which
Hmm.
you can also use eventually down for your down payment. And then when you take the money out for a house, you can use that and not have to pay it back, which is different than the original RSP homebuyers. Some of the things we mentioned in the newsletter were besides being a young person and trying to put some of that money away for the first time home savings, it could be something that family members, so maybe mom and dad or grandparents that may be looking at, they want to benefit by reducing their taxes and make sure that there's money there that they get to enjoy and see
Hmm.
their grandkids purchase that first home instead of waiting until they're not here to see the estate distributed.
Now we know that many young people are going to the bank of mom and dad. So this is a way to do that as well too.
Hmm.
And the parents can also get some benefit.
Sure, I mean there's no tax deduction for the parents or the grandparents, but if you have a lot of money sitting that you aren't necessarily sure that you're going to use, you can do this as a way to help the kids, and that'll help reduce your taxes, because even though the interest rates are great, if you've got non-registered investments, it surely does affect you paying more tax when you fill out your tax returns.
So just sort of summarizing, the homeowners, you can put money, if you're a young person, into the plan. You get a deduction. You don't have to pay tax when you take it out.
Right.
And you can also use money from your RSP if you've got money in your RSP as well.
Yeah.
And if you don't actually...
Through the home buyer's plan
through
only.
Right, through the home buyer's plan. But if you don't use the money to buy a home, you can actually take some of that money and put it into an RSP as well.
Yeah, if it, for whatever reason, if the house purchase doesn't transpire, it is possible to take that first home savings account and move it over to your RSP.
So it's something you should talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's situation is different, and there are more than one way to save. Certainly, there's different opportunities as far as financing. So, yeah, it's a good idea to create that plan either on the purchase of it or in saving in anticipation of getting it.
Yeah. Another reason why financial planning is very important.
For sure.
Now, that's for young people, but for older people, there's been a concern about CPP and OAS. When do I take it? Should I take it as early as possible? Should I wait? There's a lot of calculations to be done there too, and it depends if you need the money.
Yeah, absolutely. With CPP and OAS, things have changed over the years, and it wasn't always an option to defer it as long as it is now. But everybody's circumstances are different. Some people may need the money, and taking it early, whether it's a good idea or not, is sometimes done. And unfortunately, a lot of people, talk over a coffee with friends and family or colleagues at work and make choices based on what the hearsay is and not necessarily the facts. Unfortunately, a lot of people take CPP early because they're told it's not going to be there, or there's this belief that it's not going to be there. And with the restructuring that's been done over the years, that's not a concern anymore. They've got, money going out many years. And I mean, one of the things, if you are working, that you're paying more CPP than we used to. It's gone up this year 4.4% more in payments. So they're making sure it's still there. And when you're wanting to look at taking it, maybe from a tax planning perspective, it makes more sense, depending on how big your RSPs have been or your pension plan is, to sort of let draw there, maybe build up more tax-free savings account, or help the kids out or whatever, and then get a bigger CPP and OAS later on in life.
Well, once again, a good idea to talk it over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure what the situation is. Do you need the money? And yeah, a lot of things to be considered. One of the things that's very interesting and somewhat confusing over the past little while, and we're recording this the first day of summer, but something that's been in the works for a couple of months now, and that's the consideration with respect to taxing capital gains over a certain amount. And this has been something, as a matter of fact, we're still not exactly sure.
Well, we got more clarity now.
Yeah, but apparently, I think that June 25th was a determination of some finality, but we're still not exactly sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the line in the sand, June 25th, that the rule goes into place. So if you are wanting to sell something and make sure that it's only at that 50% tax bracket, it has to be done by June 25th. However, it really, really depends. Most people, the average person, will not hit over that $250,000 threshold, because what a person has to realize is it's not you sold your place and it's this much more valuable than it was before, if it were a camp or something like that. Is there actually 250,000, like greater than the $250,000 in gain? Because the first 250,000 would remain, even with the new rules, at a 50%. And putting that in perspective as well, if you made 250,000 of gains on something, it's only half of that that's going to be taxable. So 125 of it would be taxable. And sometimes when it's a joint property, then it gets divided in half again. So if it were like you and I selling a property and we made 250 in gains, there'd be 125,000 to declare for
Right.
capital, and then it's how much half of that again
Yeah.
each.
Does this apply as well too, like for vacation properties? There's some people have been concerned about selling their vacation property and going over that limit.
Yes, certainly. I think probably the bigger concern has been with people with that vacation property, your camp, your cottage, your chalet, or whatever. Uh, but again, sometimes maybe you're making choices based on hearsay and not the facts. And certainly, any investments that have capital gains, that falls in the same situation. So most people don't have greater than $250,000 of gain unless it's something that's been there a really long time. And because of that, when you look at investments, maybe you're taking, you want to take the gains if there were greater than 250 and you're only selling, $50,000 or something like that. So then you're breaking that gain amount down rather than it being that big lump sum.
So it may appear to be scary, but actually, when you look at it, there are ways to deal with it, and maybe it's not quite as dramatic as you might originally have felt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, today you don't want to run and change the camp or cottage into joint name immediately thinking that's going to resolve anything, because there are rules that we haven't got the facts on yet that they're looking at for joint accounts where they're digging into CRA, who's the beneficial owner. So who really owns the property, whether that be an investment or the a physical property, and looking at having to do tax returns specifically for that. That, earlier in the year, March 30th was the deadline, and then they hadn't put a proper definition down on these bare trusts, and so that got thrown to the side for now till CRA can figure out more.
So again, it's a situation where it should be really talked over, looked into very carefully, and determine what decisions should be made.
For sure, you don't want to be, grabbing a piece of information off the internet or some other person that you're talking to, and going out with a shotgun and making a choice.
Now, there was one other article that we had, and that was with respect to scams and frauds and keeping safe and secure. And, now with artificial intelligence, the bad people out there are getting badder, if you can use that expression. And you never know what's coming down the pipe, as it were. But so to be ever vigilant, and if anything seems to be suspicious, well, we've all heard those scams that if it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being responsible and double checking something before you chat with people or before you click that email is a good thing to do. You're way better. Like, you're not going to benefit from the greatest deal in the world without doing some research these days.
Now, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how smart we are. It's always possible to be tricked.
For sure.
So you have to be vigilant. And if you get those calls on the phone and it seems a little strange, well, I know that some of the software is able to say this is a scam or watch out, but not all the time, because now with artificial intelligence, there's always the possibility that you can have voices and even faces reproduced, and it
Correct.
sounds very, very authentic. So it's always good to keep your guard up. Well, in the summertime, of course, it means that people are enjoying themselves. Well, depending on the level of heat, we've had as we entered summertime, the first few days of the last part of spring have been very warm. We don't know what's going to be happening during the rest of the season, but we're going to be here for all of that, regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here for anything anybody wants and needs.
So anytime, you just give us a call, email, of course, or give a phone call, and Marina and Melanie and Linda and myself are here, and of course our support people as well to keep the business going. So as I said before, if you want to visit us on the website, we certainly appreciate you doing that and checking out the latest information. And where you can get our newsletters, of course, are all posted there.
Sure.
Information from the Croft Financial Group, and of course, our videos as well too. It's
Yep.
been a while since we've had a video like this.
Yeah. And
But,
access to your statements.
yeah, everything's there. Isn't technology can be good.
For sure. It has its place in the world.
So once again, on behalf of those of us here at Financial Decisions, another financial planning solutions broadcast out to you out there. So enjoy the summertime.
Yep. Happy summer.
Goodbye for now.